Welcome to this initial assessment training when we'll look at the ILP feature, the scorecard feature and the new RPL feature. The initial assessment will not only capture your starting point, but also through the ILP we'll be able to capture your learning journey. Hi Jane, today I'm going to complete your sign up paperwork with you, so I just need you to sign here, here and here, and then next week we'll be able to carry out your first assessment. Really? I thought it'd be much more complicated than this. Do you not want to know what qualifications I've got or any prior knowledge or skills and the work experience I've done? Is none of that important? So was Jane right to query her sign up? Throughout the rest of the presentation, we will cover these points. So what is initial assessment? Hopefully you've all watched the Chris Jones video on FE News, which talks about the importance of a robust initial assessment. So when a learner applies for an apprenticeship or enrolls for an apprenticeship, you gather certain information about that learner. So their prior education, any prior experiences, as well as getting the learner to complete their initial and diagnostic assessments. And it's at that point that starts to begin to build that initial assessment information. You also spend some time with the learner going through a skills scan. And in the past, the skills scan was used more of a document to check that the learner is able to complete their apprenticeship and that their job role is appropriate and the level is correct. But that's actually an incorrect use now of the skills scan, and we'll be going through this in more detail. So what's the difference between a skill scan and the scorecard in one file? Is there any? So in answer to your question, there is no difference between the scorecard and the skill scan. They both contain the knowledge, skills and behaviours. Hi Andy, thanks for sending in your application for the Sporting Excellence Professional. I've checked all your information, so as far as your academic requirements, you've met those, and it appears that your job role will ideally suit this particular apprenticeship. But what we need to do now is complete your skills scan / scorecard. And we're going to be looking at the knowledge, skills and behaviours, and we're going to be checking and discussing where you believe your starting point is. So throughout your apprenticeship, we'll revisit the scorecard and we'll check to make sure that you believe you are gaining new knowledge, skills and behaviours. If we find there are elements of the standard where you've already got significant knowledge, skills or behaviour, we will need to relook at those because an apprenticeship needs to demonstrate significant new knowledge, skills and behaviours. So if we look at the first part of the scorecard and the skills scan, it talks about tactical and technical performance. So if we have a look at these criteria together, Andy, and if we have a little discussion around whether you believe you've got any of those current skills. And then what we're going to do, I'm going to ask you to rate yourselves against both the knowledge and the skills against either 0 to 10. So 0 means you have no existing knowledge or skills, or 10 you believe you're already an expert and you're already proficient in that particular topic within the skills scan scorecard. Thanks for that, John. A little bit clearer what you want me to do. So looking at the first criteria, tactical and technical performance, I understand some of the terminology in there. I don't think I'll probably be able to create an assignment or answer all of that. So I'll probably say I was a 1. I'm not totally clueless with regards to that area. With regard to the skills element linked to that, I probably will put a 0 because it talks there about digital technology and how you optimize performance, and I've never covered that at all in my playing career to date. With regard to the physical performance and developing physical capabilities, I would say on the knowledge, I'm probably a 1. Again, I've got awareness of it. I know about stamina and professional sport and training, but again, there's some areas in that list I'm unfamiliar with. But when it comes to the skill about continually improving physical capabilities, I would say I'm probably a 5. I would say I feel fairly confident in being able to demonstrate that I do have those skills to be able to do that. Yes, Andy, I can see where you think the physical performance may come in. I think what we might find is that we may need to rescore that once we've actually done an actual assessment, so I can see what you actually do know. But if we just carry on through the rest of the scorecard skill scan to ascertain your level of knowledge, skills and behaviours against the standard. Now that we've finished the entire scorecard, we're just going to sign that off. And what that's going to do is provide us an average for your knowledge, an average for the skills, an average for the behaviours, then an overall average. So then what we would expect you to do every time you complete some learning, I need you to update your learning journal and then link that to criteria that you believe that learning meets. So for example, if you've attended one of our sessions on injury and risk management, you'll update your learning journal. You'll put that it was what it covered, what you learned, any further learning that's required. And then you'll link that to the scorecard criteria of the common types of injury, for example. And then every time we do your reviews, and your reviews are every 8 weeks, we will re-look at that scorecard. And some of the criteria, you won't be able to increase the score, say from a 4 to a 5, because you haven't done any learning against that yet. But other areas you may have done. So you'll be able to up your score, say from a 2 to a 5. So it's really important that we regularly review your progress against these learning outcomes, because by the time we get to your gateway, I would expect you to be in 8s, 9s and 10s, and that will indicate to us and your employer that you're ready to take that endpoint assessment. Hi Andy. So now we've completed the scorecard and the skills scan, we're now going to move on to your individual learning plan, because that's given me a really good indication of what your current knowledge, skills and behaviours are. So your individual learning plan will follow you throughout the duration of the apprenticeship. I've already pre-populated key information such as your start date, your end date, when we'd expect you to go through gateway, when we'd expect you to sit your endpoint assessment. And we will be discussing again through your induction the details of that endpoint assessment. But we've already covered, haven't we, what is expected in that endpoint assessment. This ILP also contains the 20% off the job, and we'll go into that in more detail as we get to the induction course. And then we're moving now on to English and Maths. Now, you are exempt your functional skills, English and Maths, but it is important. We will be revisiting both English and Maths throughout your apprenticeship. We will be embedding it. If I find that you're getting lazy, for example, with punctuation and grammar, that will be pulled up. There is a significant unit for maths where we analyse statistical data, so we'll be embedding your maths again throughout the programme. The next thing we're going to look at is your training plan. Now, because we've now completed the scorecard skills scan, we've identified that you haven't got any significant recognition of prior learning. So you will be going through the delivery plan, this as we've got on the document in front of us here. So you'll see each module when we expect you to complete it. You'll see when we expect you to go through the gateway, and you can see here the endpoint assessment. We've also delivered detailed on the training plan information about what off-the-job opportunities we'd like to you to be covering at work, and I'm glad now that your line manager has joined us for this discussion. So these are the sort of opportunities that we would like to see being taken up at work. So I'm going to attach this training plan to the ILP. At any point, if there's any changes, we can adjust the ILP and create a new version. So the next stage we're going to do is discuss the key milestones. So your key milestones will be, so I'm going to enter in here that I expect you first of all to complete the Welcome to Your Apprenticeship course within the next month. Okay, and that's really important because that gives us a flavour of your commitment to the apprenticeship. You will be then starting in that same month, you'll start your on-programme assessment, and that will run for 15 months before we then enter the gateway period between 15 and 16 months. And at 16 to 19 months, this is when you'll do your endpoint assessment. So those are your key milestones. Thanks, John. Yeah, that really makes sense. I understand now how the apprenticeship will work. I can see you've now given me a form ILP learner to fill in. So it seems relatively straightforward. How much details do you want me to put about my job role and responsibilities? Is this sufficient just to give a few little bullet points? I'm happy with the induction checklist. You've run through all of those points with me, so I'm all right with that. My career aspirations. Can I change this form as I go through my apprenticeship? Because I might actually, what I want to be able to do now may be different partway through my course. I'm okay about barriers to learning. We've already discussed those. So yeah, I'm happy to complete that form now. Thanks. Great, Andy. In answer to your question about updating the form in relation to your career aspirations, yes, definitely. If those change, any of the details in both of these ILP forms, we can update, and then we'll just re-sign them to confirm those changes. So now you've completed Form 3A, I've completed Form 3B. I'm now going to create a signable copy. So that confirms all of your details, your starting points, your aspirations, your job role, the milestones. It also has it has all the review dates that we've already discussed, that they'll happen every 8 weeks. And we will update the ILP every time we do a review. So that will capture where we're at that point, as well as capturing your scorecard information at the same time. So after today's session, I'm going to set you today now your first visit plan. That contains a task to do your induction survey within the next month. I've also set you your first course, which is your introduction to your apprenticeship. And I'm going to set you a separate plan that contains your first amount of coursework, which is a VLE course and then a short assignment. You've got all my contact details, so if you've got any questions between now and our next visit, which we've already agreed, you can contact me through those. You can also send me a message through OneFile as well if you've got any further questions.